And then as we proceeded in business, we did a lot of things that were different than we had done before. Of course, we hadn't done business before, so that's...
But part of that was that we thought business was a bad thing.
Right.
We held the picture that people who were in business were not there for their spiritual growth, but were there to screw other people, to get their money, to maybe pass along things that were not for their own best interest. So our own picture of business was one that we had to recreate in order to get it to include the business that we wanted to have. So since we put out the criteria, grow and become more, that didn't include just us. That included anyone we worked with as well. And our mentor, our teacher, John Lilly, certainly had that point of view about how one should lead their life. Is, you know, not just a life of grab and run, but examine. We're all research artists. We're always doing research in the process that we are aligning ourselves with. So we went that route. We said it, we meant it, and we just keep doing it. Even now.
And I think what we did is we brought our orientation, our individual orientation, to bear as we did the business. For example, I don't think I even knew at that time, it was later that I realized, I asked the question, what do I like to do? What am I good at? What will I do no matter what? What do I just automatically do? And after a lot of reflection, the first answer, big answer I had was, I like to solve problems. No matter what I'm doing, I like to solve problems. And so that's what I brought to bear in the company. So whenever we were involved in a new project in the company, like starting a new center, I always brought that to bear. It's like we would say, okay, well, what do we need to solve? What do we need to do here? And that approach of inquiry of what we wanted to do, what did we want to solve, I think that helped us a great deal, and it was each of us bringing our own essence or something into the company.
I like what you both are saying reminds me of the idea of intention. So it's kind of like you set up an intention of why, for what you were doing this. And last episode, actually, we were talking about movement and how movement can really transform your life. And by the end of that, we were talking with Michelle, and she pointed out something that we didn't mention in the show, but is connected with this point of intention. There's different ways of doing things, and you can do business just for doing business, as you said, with the idea of making money. But if you have a different intention, that can make the same thing completely different. So when you set up the intention of actually, I want my mission, my personal thing, to be put it kind of in service and in work with this business project, then it's a completely different space that you have created. And I remember AJ's always talk about business as a way, well, it's very weird when you have this mission or this message that you want to deliver to people, but if you go out on the streets and you start, hey, you want to hear me, I'm here. People will think that you are weird, that you are wasting their times, all this stuff. But when you have actually a business, a product, that the person can see some value on it, then it's easier for you to approach this person, and they will open the doors for you without you having to insist, because you have this that they are wanting, and through that communication, you start sending the message that you want to send. So that's really cool that you actually, I mean, that it was so much awareness of doing that.
Thank you. That this is not a cop-out, and I think it never occurred to either one of us to not be aware of it. So that's a kind of a different place, and I don't know how come. But from the beginning, we seem to resonate in the area of our awareness. And so that, we weren't in a constant battle for should the business be this way or that way. It was for the benefit of all beings everywhere. And that made it much simpler in that regard. Because if we were going the wrong way, read the sign on the wall. Wait a minute, that's not it.
And the way Lee naturally was, because of certain problems she had as a kid, resulted in her developing an approach to being with floaters after they floated that ended up being very spiritual, being where she was bringing presence into that relationship. You want to talk about that?
I wear glasses now, and the first time I went to school in New York City, and they give you an eye test when you first come into elementary school, and they told me I needed glasses. And so I told my mother, Mom, I need glasses. And so she got me a pair of glasses, and when I put them on, I didn't want them. You know, 8-year-old girls they don't wear glasses. It was awful, I didn't want to wear them. And so 3 days and I lost them. And I told my mom I lost the glasses 3 times, so 3 times she bought me glasses. And after that she said, well, you don't want them, so you're going to do without them. And now I had a different problem. It wasn't that the glasses were bad, but I couldn't see enough. And so and my background was movement, acrobatics and ballet and dance. And I started learning to recognize everybody by their movement. I could read their bodies. And so I learned from the age of 8 till the age of 18 when I left New York City. I recognized everybody by how they moved, expressions, how they moved their hand, how their legs moved. And that has come in very, very useful because I still see that way. You know, it came in early and it stayed for a long time. So when somebody walked in the door to our center, I was reading how they were, what they were looking for, just because that was one of those natural things to me. And we don't teach that in schools, and without a lot of necessity, we don't learn things like that. It's just, you know, however the deck got dealt to us. And, you know, like Len now limps, so he walks in a different way, and when he sees the dogs, he has to walk in a slightly different way so that he won't get attacked. So learning about movement and recognizing people by their movement, I have found to be a very, very useful tool. And of course I used it with the people who came to float in the center. You know, I would see them when they went in and when they went out, and I know an awful lot about what their experience was. The more people I put in and out of the tanks, the more that was confirmed. And I think I'm up to something like 15,000 people I've put through by now. So it's a lot of people.
That's all.
And